Hello, YNABers. My name is Jesse Meekum, and this is podcast number 4 for You Need a Budget, where we teach 4 rules to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck, get out of debt, and save more money. In that process, you might find that you're enjoying yourself. Today, I posted a question on Facebook. What indulgence or luxury do you, with rare exception, always make room for in the budget? What is your sin? I left off that part about the sin. More on that later. But I'm scrolling through the list now of responses. We've had a ton. Facebook.com/IYNAB. IYNAB. I started it. I said golf, mochas, wool. That's fascinating. A salon haircut, date nights. Date nights were a popular one and a good one. Congrats to you guys on that one. Hair appointments at a nice salon. Sushi. Angel says that they have a specific sushi category, which is awesome. Coffee was a big popular one. Dunkin' Donuts coffee specifically. Some of these I don't even know what they are. Organic groceries, solid. My iPhone, yeah, that is very much still a luxury. Travel, big stuff. Went to London. This is what Linda says. Went to London to see the Bears play. Starbucks, coffee, wine, date night again. And then people were talking about saving up for bigger stuff. Like, I don't want to spend it on small little things, so I set aside for bigger things. Jonna said that it was a new Kindle with a fancy lighted cover. I need that as well because I can't stay up and read. Otherwise, I keep Julie up. Running gear, coffee, again, massage, although Melissa says she uses Groupon for it, which is way smart, so you aren't paying full price. It's okay to pay discounted price for luxury indulgences, I would say. We've got Dr. Pepper, coffee again. Coffee, good grief, people. It's coffee. It is crazy. So pretty cool. It was kind of a fun question. I wanted to see what everyone would come up with, and you guys are all addicted to coffee. Important lesson there, though. Last week, I think I mentioned on the last podcast that last week I was in California teaching some advisors from Securities America, and we were talking about retirement and how your expenses are so important. And then we had a lunch break, and during lunch, we talked about... we were talking about how people need a budget, and obviously. And everyone's kind of tooting their own horn, and I started getting the feeling like, maybe we should do a little confession here, and really get a good conversation going. So I asked the advisor next to me, she works out on the coast, and I said, so what's your indulgence? Like, what do you just, without exception, you spend money on this? And she said, without hesitating, it was awesome, clothes. Just straight up clothes. So I turned to the next lady and said, hey, well, what's your big indulgence? And she said, purses. So awesome. They were really honest about it, and it was kind of nice. And I think it was maybe good for us as a group on Facebook to kind of list, like, what do we like? And we're proud of it, and that's okay. I wrote about this a while ago, and was reminded of again, talking about indulgences. About a year, it was about a year ago, I think. I was talking or did a webinar with Ramit Sethi, who wrote "I Will Teach You to Be Rich," and he and I often swap war stories and try and see what the other person's doing and things like that. And he was giving a webinar to YNABers on earning money on the side. He's brilliant with it. So he opened that webinar by saying that he purchased a bag of chips on his way to a party or something, didn't check the price, and then later was floored to see that they cost $9. So in a hurry, he had just purchased them, hadn't even checked. But long story short, he loved the chips. So he's saying he now purchases them regularly. He said if they cost $20, he'd still buy this bag of chips. And the other example he gave of lavish spending was a $300 shirt. So as we were doing this webinar, people could comment live as it was going on, and maybe some of you were there and you remember that, but the comments start rolling in from everyone, and they were just dripping with, with judgment, I'll say. And I watched, kind of mildly amused, and I was honestly wondering what the chips tasted like, and I need to still ask Ramit what color that $300 shirt is. And maybe he'll say, which one? I have 10. I'm not sure. But Ramit closed by repeating something that he repeats a lot, and I want to repeat it for you guys. It's an important lesson. He says, spend lavishly on the things you love and cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't. And then I find myself wanting to say, kind of confess, here are a few of my lavish spending sins. Because you want to confess, and you have to use the word confess. But that right there is probably wrong. By using the words sin and confess, I'm implying that lavish spending is wrong. And then we all get to decide what's lavish. So Congress calls, and they want you as part of their lavish spending committee, which is my way of saying that it's completely futile and it's a total waste of time, valueless. And it's maybe a little bit lame for all of us to judge anyone else for however they use their money. It certainly doesn't progress us along on any type of scale of character improvement. The key, if I saw someone spending under whatever definition we will call lavish, or spending on an indulgence, my only criteria before I pass judgment and scream at them is, are they thoughtful? Are they conscious about it? Are they aware and purposeful? So when Ramit uses the word lavish, that's a little bit to blame, because lavish, just the word itself, it signifies that it's a bit over the top. It's kind of saying that you've perhaps gone overboard a smidge or two, and I don't think Ramit's use of the word lavish is a coincidence. I think he's using the word to drive home the point that yes, it can be lavish, and there doesn't need to be any guilt associated with your purchase, because you're proactively planning and choosing what you want to do with your money. And here's a little secret. That's called budgeting. So the fact that some of you spend lavish amounts of money on coffee just blows my mind. Or guys that will spend crazy amounts on fishing tackle for fishing blows my mind. And then there are, stereotypically, women, my wife thankfully not being one of them, who own 437 different stamps, and they use that for scrapbooking. So that maybe is a little bit lavish, don't you think? But you don't need to feel guilty about those 437 different stamps or the 90 lures that my uncle took to Alaska to catch salmon. They all looked the exact same to me, but you plan for it and you paid cash for it, so you get to be lavish about it, whatever lavish means. If you notice that, you're only watching network television, then cancel the cable. That's part of cutting the costs mercilessly. You just look and you start to purge those things that don't bring satisfaction. And I like that. I like that your level of satisfaction doesn't go down at all, but the amount you're spending does. And that's what happens when you are budgeting. Let me share with you. Let me see how much time we've got here. Okay, I've got time for this. Although I have no limit. So this is a 4-hour podcast. Get ready for a story. No. Let me just share with you my little secret. And I'm only calling it a secret, not because I'm ashamed of it, only because I haven't shared it with thousands and thousands of people publicly over the internet ether. But we bought a house 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. Great house. Going to be in it for a long, long time. All part of the plan. And the basement isn't finished. So when you buy a house in Utah, every house comes with a basement. This basement was not finished. The house is a couple years old. The second owners. And we want to get the basement finished because I wanted to work from home. I'm now in the basement in my office. doing this podcast right here. And also we have a toy room that's this just big room down in the basement. We wanted to have that all finished so we could just send the kids downstairs and just have the noise be muffled and screams and cries and, anything else that goes on down there. We don't have to hear it, at least not directly. The only downside is my office is also down here. So on occasion, maybe even during the podcast, you will hear background noise. I try and keep it to a minimum. But point being, we finished the basement, got the kids down there with a cool toy room, but I purposely carved out an area and I said, I want to build a separate room here, squeeze in a little bit to the toy room. I want to have this separate room and I want it to be a weight room where we can lift. And I don't mean a fitness room. I mean a weight room with weight. So iron. And I did allow a treadmill to be in there. But I've been wanting a weight room since I was 14. And I remember I would get catalogs when I was, in high school. I'd get these catalogs from Iron Mind or other places like that. And they would just show all this gym equipment. And I used to just make lists, like Christmas in the JCPenney catalog, except this Iron Mind catalog. I would just make lists of like, okay, I'd need this, and I would need this, and I need this, and, go on and on and on. And I wanted to have this weight room for my house. I was sick of driving to the gym, especially in the winter. You waste 40 minutes, and you got to, freeze on your way over, and it takes forever. It's just a total waste of time. So Julie gave me the green light to do this weight room. So then I'm thinking, well, I want this to be right. I want to do it right. So I will, what would be the vibe of a good weight room? And a good weight room vibe is something kind of old school and rustic. So I was thinking brick. I thought, well, we could do brick in the room, on the inside. So we're doing brick on the inside of the house. And I tell Julie this, and she's like, okay, yeah, brick would be okay. She could see other uses for the room potentially if I decided to give up weights or something. So she gave me the go-ahead on the brick. Then I started thinking, well, we could have kind of an entrance to the room. And so the brick could kind of bleed out into this, like a little bit of not a hallway, shorter than a hallway, but just a little entrance where the door's kind of set back. So the brick could come out from there, and you'd kind of, as you're approaching the weight room, you'd get kind of this vibe like, oh, I'm going somewhere special. This is a special place. So I convinced her, finally. Took a little bit longer because then you'd actually see the brick, and she wasn't so certain about that. So we bled the brick out a little bit as kind of an entrance to this room. And then I was thinking, a normal white interior door will just not do this justice. It's got to look different. When you're approaching this room, you have to be mentally ready. So I contacted a guy who does amazing things, and he's kind of a little bit... he's very creative, and he does this cool, like rustic hardware type of thing. And I said, hey, design me a door that would fit in like an old school gym, So he does. He sends me 3 different sketches, and I picked the one that was the least crazy. But it kind of looks like a dungeon door. It's got metal on it. I should show you guys pictures. Maybe I'll post pictures to the blog. Anyway, it's this awesome door. And then things just kind of unraveled from there. So I'm keeping an eye on my costs, but I'm saying, okay, I need this equipment. I need that. I want rubber flooring. I want mirrors. I want a TV in there. I want to wire some speakers. Just all sorts of things. I just recently got some kind of vintage magazines from the 1940s that I can put up in there to add to the vibe. All this being said, nobody else on earth would want this for their house. I've showed people, I think everyone's kind of polite because they know I've kind of poured my heart and soul into the design of it. And they're like, oh yeah, wow, yeah, that's really neat. But you can kind of feel like, no, they're not really into it. And that's fine because it's mine and it's exactly what I wanted. And that was enough for me. And I feel awesome when I go in there, even if I'm not lifting tons and tons of weight. Has a good vibe to it. I should post pictures. At any rate, nobody else really cares to have one like that. And that's the lesson. It was for me. I budgeted for it. I have an awesome wife that let me do it. And I feel great about it. no guilt, even though everyone else on earth would likely call it a complete and total indulgence. So the lesson is, it's your budget, it's your plan. You get to spend your money on whatever you want. Just do it consciously. Be aware. Be purposeful. Nobody's going to be aware and say, yeah, I'll rack up credit card debt. It just will not happen. So just be conscious about it, and none of us are going to judge you for it. Now, we're getting close to the holidays here. Thanksgiving's coming up. I want you guys to stay motivated. I want you to stay motivated by staying in touch with us. Catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/IYNAB, IYNAB, or on Twitter at twitter.com/YNAB. I used to tweet from twitter.com/Jesse Meekham, all one word, JESSEMECHAM. But I'm going to make it more official and tweet out only YNAB stuff from twitter.com/YNAB. And please do not forget that we have the friendliest forums on the interwebs, YNAB.com/forum. The YNABers over there do not cease to amaze with their kindness. They are awesome. If you have any questions, ask them. If you need motivation, and I guess that's basically it. I'm signing off. Thanks for listening, guys, and I will catch you next week.